Welcome to House TRW. Let's start by calling roll.
Representative Campbell.
Here.
Representative Connolly.
Excused.
Representative Harshman.
Here.
Representative Jarvis.
Here.
Representative Provenza.
Here.
Representative Storer.
Excused.
Representative Thayer.
Here.
Representative Wharf.
Excused.
Chairman Byron.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. I'm going to take one moment to reflect and apologize. I'm going to be pretty short today. That was a tough 2 hours upstairs, and that's not how TRW is going to run. I'll tell you that. So, tough day to be a member of this body. With that, we have closed public comment on House Bill 15. And we, committee, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Representative Campbell.
thank you. I would move that we table House Bill 15. One, just given the complexity of this bill and this being a budget session, I think this is definitely needs to be picked up during the interim. So I would move to table.
I'd second that.
Thank you. For that, Representative Campbell, Representative Thayer, second. Is non-debatable. So with that, we will call roll. Give also a moment here. Well, I think we can go ahead and do it with just show of hands. All those in favor of Representative Campbell's motion to table the bill, please show by raising your hand. Those opposed? That motion carries. House Bill 15 is tabled. Thank you. We are going to move to House Bill 17. Representative Singh here to present House Bill 17, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the TRW committee. This bill, House Bill 17, is a committee bill from the Select Committee on Blockchain and Select Committee on Blockchain, Financial Technology, and Digital Innovation Technology. This is a pretty straightforward bill. It changes the scope of what the committee is able to talk about. You can see that on pages at the beginning, well, the end of page 2 onto page 3. Starting at 22 on page 2, it says Wyoming's continued leadership in the digital. We will develop and introduce legislation as necessary to promote Wyoming's continued leadership in the digital economy. And then just add some more lines there, reducing impediments to economic opportunities through tech, developing policies to encourage technology here in the state, and to promote further development of the digital commercial activity in the state. It conforms anywhere that the previously named committee would be located in statute. And one of the things we did change was that you can see on section II, it's page 2, line 16. The title, previously, any bills that we came up with that had to do with Title 13 would be re-referred to the Minerals Committee as they deal with banking. And Title 13 has to do with banking. And so that was a change. That's the real structural change of the bill. But other than that, it broadens the scope to emerging technologies. And in that regard, not all technology is digital. It gives a wider scope for a research type committee that if there is any sort of concern or a topic that the committee may want to investigate, but there isn't really a good way to fit it in, that the Blockchain and Emerging Technologies Committee would be able to take it up as a topic upon approval from Management Council. And with that, I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Representative Singh. Committee, any questions of Representative Singh? Seeing none, I have one for you, Representative. Can you give us just a quick summary of the debate? I know you guys had to cancel your last meeting during the interim, but just the feelings coming out of committee on this bill.
Sure. Just from the committee, Mr. Chairman, there was broad consensus on the future of the necessity to have a more broad future for this committee. Select Committee on Blockchain, Financial Technology, and Digital Innovation Technology. It's very specific, but at the same time, it doesn't allow us to really deal with the different technologies that actually are out there, as it may or may not have to do with anything that has to deal with computer. And so we were working with some of the folks that envisioned this select committee in the first place. And there are members in the legislature that serve right now that were a part of that. And so through thoughtful discussion, we landed on blockchain and emerging technologies.
Thank you, Representative Singh, for clarifying that for the committee. Committee, any questions? Hearing none, seeing none, stick close. We're going to go ahead and open this up for public comment. Those in the room that want to come speak on this bill. Either way, I'm not expecting a lot, but we do have another bill to get to. So please, when you sit down, introduce yourself, tell us who you're representing, and welcome to House TRW.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Scott Meyer, on behalf of Wyoming's Community Banks, the Wyoming Bankers Association. While the Wyoming Bankers Association hasn't always agreed with the Select Committee on Blockchain and Financial Technology and Digital Innovation, we do believe that they do great work, and we appreciate the emphasis that they have, at least with financial innovation. But as I think one of the former chairman of Minerals, Michael Greer, says, but you don't understand banking. And that's a little bit different. And banking does include so much more than just deposits and checking accounts. We're talking about regulation, business loan requirements, mortgage reporting, and other state and local federal requirements, such as the Community Reinvestment Act that requires banks to reinvest in their community. So there's a whole lot more that goes to banking than just this. So while banking can and really must embrace financial innovation, and banks will do so, but they must do so without undermining their safety and security of and soundness of their deposits, and without putting bank deposits that fuel our local lending and our economic development at risk. So for these reasons, the WBA opposes that portion of the bill on page 2, line 17 through 22, that removes the requirement that the proposed legislation relating to Title 13 be recommended to the Joint Minerals Business and Economic Development Interim Committee for consideration. We think that's very vital. It's vital important for banking. It's vital important for the economy of the state of Wyoming. I'm sure the Select Committee believes they have a handle on banking, but banking is really what Minerals Business and Economic Development Committee does. We want to really avoid any unintended consequences to our community banks and to their communities itself when it comes to financial innovation in the digital world. And that, Mr. Chairman, I would stand for any questions.
Thank you for that testimony. Committee, any questions? Any questions, committee? Appreciate that. Let's give the committee some time to digest it.
Thank you.
And with that, anyone else for public comment on House Bill 17? Anyone else? We do have one online, and we're not sure if they're here to testify for this. Terry Dean, if you are here to testify on House Bill 17, somehow let our LSO know and they can let you in the room. And if you're not here to testify on that, stick around for the next bill.
Mr. Chairman, Terry Dean has been promoted to panelist to speak.
Speaking of emerging technologies. I think Mr. Dean or Miss Dean may be on for a different bill, so
He
maybe not.
declined the invitation.
Decline. All right, perfect. Thank you, LSO, for that. With that, I will close public comment on House Bill 17. Committee, what is your pleasure? A bill has been moved by Representative Provenza, second by Representative Campbell. Committee, let's go ahead and work this bill. We'll start on page 1. Any changes to page 1, committee? Any changes to page 1? Not seeing any. We're going to go to page 2. Chairman. Mr. Vice Chair, please.
2 lines 17 through 22 to reinstate the stricken language.
Got that, LSO? Great, thank you. Do we have a second?
I think, if I get a second, I'll explain.
Second by Representative Wharf, Representative Harshman.
I think, Mr. Chairman, I mean, we give some select committees the ability to bring legislation on their own. This is one of them, but I think that standing committee of minerals business, economic development is also good. I think this is a good thing to have more eyes look at stuff. I support the suggested amendment.
Thank you, Representative Harshman. Any other comments? Representative Wharf, please.
I would just say, Mr. Chairman, that I don't feel that there's any harm in putting that back. I believe that if those members of the select committee have justification for the removal or the striking of that language, I'm sure we'll hear about that in the House discussion. So I think it's okay to put that back in and see how it plays out.
Thank you, Representative Wharf. Committee, any other comments? Representative Campbell, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So question to both points. Maybe that in line 17, after promote the blockchain financial technology digital innovation in Wyoming, I imagine that was intentional and shifting to continued leadership in the digital economy. So perhaps, I don't know if it would require amending the amendment. If we take the unless the legislation relates to, then it will be referred to committee for consideration, and just take that chunk of it and have it follow the word necessary. So it reads, develop and introduce legislation as necessary unless the legislation relates to title blah, 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 blah. And then a comma after committee for consideration, comma, to promote Wyoming's continued leadership in the digital economy by, if that kind of gets to the point of where you're going or not.
To the bringer.
I think it's friendly, Mr. Chairman. I think it cleans it up maybe a little bit. I mean, when you add the new language with the old language, it is, but I was just gonna count on our LSO drafters kind of clean that up. We usually give them a little leeway to do that, but I don't have a problem with that. I don't think. I think that's friendly. So.
I would concur.
Okay. That will get complicated with LSO. You can take it on over. Any other comments on the amendment committee? Question being called. They will figure it out over there. Representative Harshman's amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. We're back on the bill. Page 2. We're done. Page 3. Committee, any other motions, anything you want to change on page 3? Seeing none, we're going to go to page 4. Page 4. We'll wait for the good representative to get back. Any amendments on page 3 or 4, Representative Campbell? Seeing none, page 5. With that, committee, we will take a roll call vote on House Bill 17.
This is a roll call vote for House Bill 17 as amended. Representative Campbell. Representative Connolly.
Excused. Let me tell you, she left an aye vote.
Representative Harshman. Representative Jarvis.
Aye.
Representative Provenza.
Aye.
Representative Storer.
Excused.
Representative Thayer.
Aye.
Representative Wharf.
Aye.
Chairman Byron.
Aye.
8 ayes, 1 excused.
Thank you. I have a great idea of who could carry this bill on the floor. Thank you, Representative Singh. Happy to help you. Thanks for coming to House TRW. Right, committee, and for those on Zoom and in the public, we are going to House Bill 19, corner crossing clarification. And to explain that bill, which is a committee bill, it came out of committee over the interim. We have good representative from over the mountain. Representative Provenza, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to invite my friend Brian Simmerat up here to help. He helped work on this legislation, and he, of course, is the champion attorney for the hunters on Elk Mountain. So if he would join me in answering questions, that would be helpful. Members, I bring to you today, well, actually, I don't bring this to you. You bring this to you. House Bill 19 on corner crossing clarification. As you know, the 10th Circuit made a ruling about federal lands, but this can create confusion because it doesn't deal with our state lands or public lands that don't necessarily fall under that federal law. Additionally, what we heard during committee over the interim was that law enforcement can't necessarily go pick out a 10th Circuit decision, and instead they look at green books. This is codifying what the 10th Circuit's decision is. And so we can continue to have conversations about maybe what that looks like for Wyoming, right? I think I'll just be very high level, and I'll let Mr. Semerad kind of talk about any specifics on this, and I'm happy to answer questions as well.
Thank you, Mrs. Simrad. Would you like to go through the bill?
Mr. Chairman, representatives, however you'd like me to proceed, I'm happy to address it.
Yeah, it's a 3-page bill. I think it'd be great to skim through it. Appreciate that.
Yep, that's no problem at all. So, Mr. Chairman, representatives, this is a 3-page bill, and really the meat and potatoes of the bill is on page 1, carrying over to page 2, and then on page 3. The language here, what it really does fundamentally is it takes this issue of accessing public lands through local, state, and federal accessible public lands. And it tells our law enforcement officials that just like the 10th Circuit decided and the Supreme Court declined to review that decision, that when a person travels from corner to corner without causing damage to adjacent parcels of privately held land, that person doesn't commit a crime, whether that's a Title VI criminal trespass or a Title 23 hunting trespass, that this is just simply not something that a person could be prosecuted for if they follow the very strict language that's in this bill. So if we walk through, and the changes are identical, they're mirrored in Title VI and Title 23, the language reads as follows: for purposes of this section, a person does not commit criminal trespass, and obviously for page 3 in Title 23, it just says does not commit trespass. If the person is traveling from one parcel of land owned by a local government, the state of Wyoming, or the federal government that the person is authorized to access to another parcel of land owned by a local government, the state of Wyoming, or federal government that the person is authorized to access at the corner where the two parcels meet and without causing damage to any privately owned land adjacent to the two parcels. And I can read it again on page 3, but it is identical. It's just mirroring in Title VI and Title 23. We're in a budget session. Something I think that's important about this bill, it's a criminal bill, obviously Title VI, Title 23 trespasses are criminal, is that this is narrowing that aperture for law enforcement and telling them that use your resources more efficiently. The 10th Circuit has said that landowners, private landowners in checkerboarded land do not have a property right to obstruct that kind of access. And so you, whether you're a sheriff, police, a game warden, whoever you happen to be, whatever kind of law enforcement officer you happen to be, that if you're presented with this fact pattern, if a person is doing this, it's not a crime. You don't need to expend your resources investigating it. You don't need to do that. So in our view, what this does, as Representative Provenza articulated, it puts that 10th Circuit decision into concrete terms in our green books for law enforcement officers. That's all of those law enforcement officers. And when they're confronted with a complaint or a claim that someone has engaged in this behavior, they don't have to spend a bunch of effort, energy, money, resources, our court time, our prosecutor's time, and all that extra money that goes into investigating these things. They can simply say, well, that's not a crime. If it's something else, if you're damaging property, if you're walking down the middle of someone's private land, then that's a different conversation. But if you're engaging in this conduct, it's not a crime. And so in our opinion, this is a matter of efficiency. It's clarification. It embodies that 10th Circuit decision, which will not be reviewed again by the 10th Circuit unless they rehear it en banc, which they wouldn't do under their binding case law. The only way that civil right or civil issue would change is if a different circuit court reached a different decision, which again would not be binding here, and then the Supreme Court took that matter up, which that's 4, 5, 10 years away if that were ever to happen. So I think that this is a correct clarification of the law, and it should pass.
Thank you. Representative Provenza, anything to add?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just want to add, I've had conversations with members who who want to narrow this law somewhat. And so I've worked with them and I can propose some language that would help with some of the concerns that folks are hearing from their constituents. So on the bill, and the main concern that folks have had is, does this broaden the 10th Circuit's decision in saying that you can use an ATV to corner cross? If the body wants, then I think the change that needs to be made is to say, so I'll just look at page 3, but this will be relevant to both sections. But it's on one page, so it's easy to see. On page 3, line 6, strike is traveling, and insert travels by foot or pack animal. That would narrow it so that it is just by physically stepping across, or potentially using maybe a horse or alpaca, things that are common use of sportsmen doing backcountry hunting.
Thank you, Representative Provenza. Can you repeat that, please,
Yes.
just for the body?
So that language would be this subsection, if the person travels by foot or pack animal. And
When appropriate, you could certainly bring that. Does that the committee understand that? Okay.
And the corresponding change, Chairman, representatives, would
Yep.
be on page 1, line 15. That two words is traveling. You could strike that and put travels by foot or pack animal. That's page 1, line 15.
Thank you. Representative Harshman, please. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, and just I'm really close to amending this bill in our interim committee, and I thought I'm just going to back off and let this, and I just want to, there's been others, I brought this bill in 2011, it's House Bill 171, and I put in there, does not touch the private land. And I know that's what you're trying to, I just want to make sure this broad, and I think do we need to talk about I don't know if it's in what title it's in, it might be, is it Title 10, but just talk about airspace. Do we need to talk about airspace and who owns it and who can have access? I don't know. Anyway, those are my questions. And I almost did that back in Casper, and I thought, I don't want to take this train down a different track. And so, but I just want to make sure this thing succeeds. And so I don't want to goof it up or make something more complicated, but I don't want to give people a way to take this down. Hey, you didn't say not touch. Hey, what about the airspace? And so those are really thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that's Title 10 on the ownership of the space. Yeah.
Mr. Simrad, would you like to answer that question?
Thank you, Chairman. And yes, I would. Couple reactions to that. So first, this is a law enforcement narrowing bill. It's not a property rights change bill, which Title 10 would be. That would be the property rights amendment, and that's different. I think a solution, and I'm going to steal from somebody smarter than me. Judge Skavdal used the phrase physical touch, something that I have discussed with Representative Provenza. This would be on page 3, line 12, where it says, where the two parcels meet and without causing damage. You could say, and without physically contacting or causing damage. And you could do that same change on that would be page 2, line 6-7 or line 627. And that would mirror Judge Skavdal's ruling on summary judgment as it putting that in there. So it would have both prongs, don't damage and don't physically contact. And to the extent that that is a concern, it's something I raised with Representative Provenza, could solve that.
Really, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, please,
Yeah, I
Representative. Harshman.
really appreciate that. And I think, a lot of our stuff, and I've tried to, even like in our school statutes in the Green Book, I've tried to mirror over the years what the Supreme Court has said. I just think it's so important, but I appreciate your input. I don't want to go too far and goof this up, but I want to make sure we don't get tripped up. Want to make it a little better. So thank you.
Representative Provenza, I sense an urge of a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I forgot to mention this in addition. The other thing, I had conversations with Representative Thayer and Representative Connolly was after land. So I'm trying to find this. I'm dealing with two different pages. So on page 3, again, that line 13, without causing damage to any privately owned land or property adjacent to the two parcels. Some of the concern was about fences. If you put or property behind that, you would then be including fences. And then the same language would be on page 2, line 7, after privately owned land, insert or property. So those were I present these because I want this bill to pass the legislature. And I want to respect what could be viewed as divisiveness between landowners and hunters. And that's not what we want. We want to ensure that the people of Wyoming can access the public land that they own. And that we do so in a way that reflects the 10th Circuit.
Appreciate that, Representative Provenza. I think we're gonna have a few questions. I'm gonna start with my neighbor upstairs, Representative Wharf, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I look at this and the one thing that's troubling to me, you know, I myself do a lot of hunting as I know you do. The concern I have is nowhere does this address the situation when you don't have a marked corner. The GPS units that we have available are not necessarily accurate enough for you to know without any doubt that you've found the right corner and that you're crossing that corner if it isn't marked. And I worry about this. I know what you're trying to do. And believe me, I want to have access to our public lands as much as you do. What I don't want to do is set the stage where we got sportsmen that are going out there saying, well, I can do this. And we end up overwhelming our law enforcement guys because now they're going out. They have to go try and figure out where in the hell, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, where that corner might be. Yeah. And I do think, you know, it's hard. I've done that. I've walked around. I've worked for the Forest Service. I've done timber cruising. I've done a lot of things where you have to know how to navigate. But that's my concern, is even as much as I've done it, I don't know that I could conclusively say that I know for sure that's a corner. And if we can't know for sure where that corner is, I see it being problematic that you're going to be down there arguing whether or not you found that corner. So that's one question I have that I'd like to see if you've given some thought how we could maybe handle that. Cause I'll just let you respond to that. And then I got another question.
Please. Thank you, Representative Wharf.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Representative Wharf. So I think it's really important every time we talk about this, and this is how we litigated the cases, it's got to be through the proper lens. It's the Title 10 question in a different way. We are not, and I've had people call me after this case and they tell me stories, and sometimes they are wrong and I have to tell them that. As a hunter, sportsman, outdoors person, it's your duty to know where you are. And this is the same with a property line or a corner, right? You need to know, that's your duty. And what this bill does though, and what I think it really does, as Representative Provenza says, is if presented with, no, it's true, you got the marker, you did this, law enforcement, you don't need to listen to the 10th call from that manager, that landowner, or whoever. It's not a crime. If there is this doubt, there's footprints all over the place, there is no corner, there's things like that, then that is in the discretion of law enforcement, just the same as when you got a close call on any other case, a domestic case or whatever it is. The purpose of this is to at least take away that one question. So it isn't looking at a 49-page decision by a brand new sheriff's deputy, a brand new game warden. They're saying, well, I'm not sure. It just says, well, if I have that fact pattern, there is a corner, you did cross it, we know that, it's not a crime, we don't have to explore that. But in your situation, and to all property owners, if this is some kind of fudgy situation where someone is marching all over the place, you know there's nothing marked, you know they're just not being responsible, they're going to get charged, and they'll probably get charged both ways, which is the common way to charge it. So it's not in there. I agree with that, but this is the same as, if you had a trespass claim with a property line, where the line is infinitely small. It's not marked, we don't do that and fence off every single property line. And you could still be found guilty of a trespass if you did it wrong.
Representative Ward, follow up.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, I guess the question I've had is, have you thought about, I know I'm familiar, most other states require private lands to mark their boundary. And to me, at least you would then have a declaration of where that corner is. And I guess that's something I would ask, is if that's something that you think should be amended into your bill, that we now require private landowners to mark corners, rivers, fishable streams, whatever the definition we come up with. I know that other states have that requirement. And I myself don't like seeing all the ugly signs around, but I can tell you, I think this is a quagmire the way it is now, because you're going to have people arguing who's right, who's wrong. How's the judge going to make a call on that when the game warden or the sheriff or whoever's up there, they don't have any better tools than the sportsmen have. So if they can't agree on where the corner is, I don't know how they can write a ticket. And I guess that's one thing I would throw out, that if I may, the next question I have, if you'll consider that, the next question I have is, I think when you talk about damage, I don't know that that's really defined, because I know some people are going to say, I don't want your foot on my property. I've seen it. I've seen the ugliness that happens, and I don't want that. But I want to keep honest guys from getting caught and getting sportsmen and landowners in a contentious issue. And so I think we might need to look at a little bit more of a definition than damage, because who is it that determines the damage? Is it the landowner? Is it the law enforcement officer that's there? Who is it that gets to decide whether or not that's actually damage?
Mr. Simrat, if you can do that quickly.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Representative Worf. 63303 already has a notice section. You have to provide notice already. It's already in there. You don't need to change anything. You can't have an actionable criminal trespass without notice, period. So that's done. If you add in the physical contact piece, you don't have to worry about damage, because if you touch my blade of grass, you're guilty.
Good. Thank you, Representative Worf. I really appreciate those questions. Representative Worf has been putting a lot of time into this and been certainly working through this as a sportsman for a very long time. So I think it is the goal of the committee. Certainly my goal as chairman to get this right, so it can get through our body and we can go push it on the other side. So I really do appreciate those thoughtful questions. Committee, any other questions while we have the presenter of our bill? Any other questions? Please stay close. Carly, Representative Provenza, you can come back up here. Sorry.
Thank
for
you.
using your first name. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And with that, I am going to take a brief moment to welcome, and they're going to keep trickling in, I'm told, Camo at the Capitol and Jess Johnson. Folks, it is, I loved, Carly knew you were all filing in and she could sense the camo. She just couldn't see you literally and figuratively. So really, really appreciate you all being here. We're just about to open public comment for House Bill 19, which is the corner crossing bill. My heart rate and my temperature is much lower than it was when I walked in here. So I think it'll be a great opportunity to come comment if you should so choose. We have a great committee. I'm lucky to have them. And with that, we'll just give Camo at the Capitol a quick round of applause. I also want to note that we were pinched 15 minutes upstairs, so we are gaveling back in at 2:30? 2:30. So let's get after it with public comment. Committee, I'm going to go ahead and open public comment up for corner crossing clarification, House Bill 19. We have one online that we will get to after. I'm going to just go ahead and do this. Because I let it get out of hand on a couple days ago. We are going to keep public comment to 2 minutes. I really appreciate everyone being here. It's really, really great to see you folks here, both folks that are for and against this bill. So with that, I'd like to start with anyone that would like to testify in favor of this bill. If there's a bunch of you, just keep filling in these black chairs. I'll start my timer. And please, when you come up, unmute your mic, introduce yourself, tell us where you're from or who you're representing, and feel free to comment on House Bill 19. Not all at once. Where's Colton? Thank you. We got a couple folks trickling in here. That's awesome. Yep, come on up. I can't speak for that side of the committee, but this side of the committee is pretty favorable. So remember the green button to unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and maybe where you're from, who you're representing, and welcome to House TRW. We're going to start over here.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Chairman. Appreciate the time. Representative Wharf, Evanston, Mike Juritich. Nice to meet you formally, although your daughter is my dental hygienist, so we know each other. I'd like to just give my expressed support of this. We know how it's been forever. This has always been a gray area. Why is it like this? How did it become this way? But the Federal Enclosures Act that basically said you can't block public land, it's been out there forever, hasn't been addressed yet. Thrilled that it's being addressed, and I really hope we can move forward with this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. That just shows that true Wyoming. Nice little connection there, and Representative Harshman probably knows what sport she played and what her mascot was. So I really appreciate your testimony. We'll continue on here. Please introduce yourself.
You bet. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Bruce Perryman. I'm a Laramie County resident, a landowner in Goshen County, avid sportsman. We need some guidelines. This is an unresolved issue. It's going to benefit the law enforcement folks. It's going to benefit the landowners. So we have clarity. We understand where this issue falls. This bill's probably not perfect. Most of them aren't when they first come out, but we need something. And I would urge you to support this bill. Let's work on it. I'm also a professional land surveyor in the state of Wyoming. The land surveyors of Wyoming can help if we need to identify corners. A lot of these are stones out in rural. Yeah, and sometimes there's fences, most of the time there's not, but we can work on that as we go down the road. I would just ask your support for this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Perryman. We had some testimony to that during committee, and I think bones was used too. Bones, sticks, stones. With that, Mr. Perryman, don't go far. We might have some questions for you.
Go ahead.
Representative Provenza, start us off.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just going to, for the room, there was conversation that was had about potential amendments that I want folks to share their concerns with if they have any. Essentially, we are putting in, we might put in, this might be a possible amendment, by foot or with pack animal. Just given that the legislature would probably be more likely to pass this legislation if we narrow it just a bit for hunters to be able to pass by foot or pack animal. Okay. So that would be that potential change. And then we also put in after privately causing, there's already causing damage in the language. We might put in after privately owned land, we might also put in or property, and that would potentially put in for fences. So this is our effort at potential compromise to get it through the legislature. So if I just wanted to throw that out there, because I don't think you were in the room when we made those changes, and we just want to, and then we also had another one that says physically contacting the land or creating damage to it. So that narrows the bill a little bit, but I think it honors who you are, your hunting, your everything we love about public land. But if it doesn't, I want to know. So we'll talk about that in more detail, but I did want to tell the room that.
Thank you, Representative Provenza. And how we do that will be if and when we move the bill, we will then ask for amendments and we begin to work the bill. So those are still to be decided on by the body. Representative Harshman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to talk about that correct corner placement issue. It's obviously a huge deal, and I really appreciate your point. We can solve a lot of this on our own, just going to work. That's what Wyoming's done. And reminds me, I mean, the four corners, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona, it's off by a half mile, still off, and I think Teddy Roosevelt vetoed that bill back in the day to fix it. But So it's that way everywhere in the West. And then, Mr. Chairman, just to the group, this just warms my heart to see everybody here. This is the way it's supposed to work. Show up. That's the first thing. But just so you know the process, you're pretty much, preaching to the choir here today. The whole choir, not everybody's in the choir. And so we're going to need 32 votes to pass it out of the House. And so get your count sheet.
42.
Introduction.
Oh, it's in.
No, we need to pass it out of the House, a majority now, 32 votes. And then that thing will cross over to the Senate and it'll go to their probably TRW committee. Well, let me just say this. The first deal is the majority floor leader is going to have to put it on the list to be heard. We could work this bill today and it's never heard in the House. And so by contacting your local representatives, it'll be really important. I don't think mass emails to 62 people, but the people contact them. I'm a constituent of yours from Casper, wherever. It's just so important. So this is not done today. This is just barely starting. We're like yard 2 of a 100-yard dash. And we gotta stay with it the whole way. So just really appreciate it. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Wouldn't you agree? Always appreciate the insights from Representative Harshman. Thank you. Committee, any other questions of Mr. Perryman? Any other questions? Thank you for being here. Sir, introduce yourself, hit your button, get a green mic going, and tell us who you are and where you're from.
Mr. Chairman, representatives, thank you. My name is Phil Pfister. I'm with the Wyoming State Trappers Association, and there's just been spots in my life. I'm an elk hunter, avid outdoorsman, love it out there, and there's spots that I just love to be able to see, even if I have to cross a corner and make it legal. Hope you guys support this bill. That's about all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Pfister, for being here. That's awesome. Committee, any questions of Mr. Pfister? Any questions? Keep trickling up if you want to speak in favor. These guys are on it, about 30 seconds here, 30 seconds there. Leave some time for opposition if we have any, and trickle on up. And please introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, and make sure you got your green light on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and representatives. Cody Renner out of Lander. I will be a little longer than them, but hopefully still short. I am in favor of this. I do think that there certainly can be evolution to this, and I do agree with Representative Provenza on adding the piece about horse packing. From a standpoint of federal lands, federal side, ADA compliance and disability compliance does factor in. And from a private landowner perspective, I feel there may be concern with how is the public, the whole public, including everybody with a disability, is going to be able to actually access that without damaging the property. Because a two-wheel, four-wheel vehicle is not going to be able to, physically move across the corner the same way as we would step or a horse or that. And so there are certain impacts there, which, it opens up a whole can of worms, but it's certainly a piece where those private landowner rights may feel infringed as far as, easement requirement versus just a general passing through the boundary. So thank you.
Thank you for bringing up that point. I really appreciate that. Committee, that's a challenge to you. Any questions, committee? Representative Thayer, please.
I just have a statement. This young gentleman, I love seeing, and I've seen him since he was probably up to my knee high when he was born in Rollins. So I love seeing this. Thank you for participating.
Thank you for being here. It means a lot. Mr. Schick, welcome to House TRW. We've missed you. Please introduce yourself.
Chairman, hello. My name is James Schick, aka Colton's dad. So with that, I just want to say thank you for bringing this topic up. As has been previously stated, it's something that's important to all of us, whether you're a hunter or a landowner. Thank you for defining the language. Damage is going to be something that will be contentious as this moves forward, but it's a start, and I appreciate that, and I support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schick. Always great to see you. Please, any questions, Mr. Schick? Sorry, committee. Any questions of Colton's dad? Appreciate that. Please introduce yourself. Welcome to House TRW.
Hi, Mr. Chairman, representatives. My name is Hannah. I live in Laramie. I'm also a new hunter this year, and I wanted to say first, thank you for taking the initiative to clarify language in this bill, and to say that as a new hunter, one of the largest roadblocks when going out is confusion around language in certain rules and statutes. So I'd say just to ask that regardless of what amendments are added, to focus on making sure that especially for newer folks who might not have a family background or exposure to these issues, to make sure language is as clear and accessible as possible. So folks who are new to this can actually continue to go out and make the most use of public lands, because if the corner crossing is there, but you're too confused about the language to actually make use of it, it doesn't actually do as much good to the public as it could be. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Hannah. I assume that's not your last name, but that's what I'm going to call you. You know, it's just awesome to hear you're a new hunter, and I wish you could go upstairs and share that with some of our colleagues on the House floor and make them new hunters, because that would certainly go a long way in our body and in the state of Wyoming. Committee, any questions? Any questions? Thank you for being here. Thank you for your testimony. We have had some folks trickling in. We are on public comment in favor of House Bill 19. As you feel, driven, or if you want to come up and talk to us, I promise we'll take it easy on you. And then after our folks in favor of this, we were going to go to those in opposition. Please introduce yourself, sir, and tell us where you're from.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Kurt Eisenach. I'm from Sheridan, Wyoming. I'm a board member from the Wyoming Wild Sheep Foundation, former chairman, member of many conservation organizations. Also friends and family with landowners. So definition that you guys are working on stands to prevent future conflict and create a trusting relationship. The horseback access may need a little more work. Fence-wise, damage, how do I get my pack stock across if the fence is right? Those kind of issues, but we're Wyoming residents. Maybe we can work that out with the game warden and the landowner and, whatever else. But those are, if we don't start the discussion, if this bill doesn't move forward, we're still in the gray area where this ruling came out and we'll never take another step forward. Thank you for your efforts.
Really appreciate it. Committee, any questions? Any questions? Seeing none, really appreciate you being here today. And thank you for all your work on all those NGOs and other boards. That means a lot to the state. Sir, welcome to House TRW. Please introduce yourself.
I'm from Mountain View in Uinta County, not up there near Casper. But I'd just like the committee to know that you've heard a lot from hunters. I have a council membership on Wyoming Trout Unlimited Council. You have a lot of anglers that also corner cross, and it's important to us to have that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hassan. Any questions of the gentleman? Any questions? Someone from Representative Wharf's district. That's good. Keep an eye on him. Please introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from.
Chairman and committee, I'm Jason West. I'm from Lander, and I appreciate this bill greatly because it helps me know how I can be following the rules and do the right things by landowners and respect their landowner rights and private land. But when I'm out there, I can find hard to access spots on GPS mapping, like on X. And so this is a great clarification for me too. Thank you.
Mr. West, that was not your timer. That was from the previous testimony. So, but I really appreciate you keeping it tight. You make very good points, and that is a discussion that came up frequently in committee through the interim. Committee, any questions of Mr. West? Any questions? Thank you for being here. Please introduce yourself. I'll reset the timer so I don't keep embarrassing myself. And welcome to House TRW. Glad you're here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, representatives. My name is Nate Frank. I live in Rock Springs, Wyoming. Just wanted to voice my support for this bill. I know it may not be perfect, but I would like, don't want perfect to get in the way of good. I think it's a really good start. And I hunt public land. We're fortunate in Southwest Wyoming to have some really good landowners that make corner crossing not such a big deal. But there are parts of the state and there are parts of Southwest Wyoming where this is really important. So just wanted to thank you for moving this, and it's really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Frank. I'm sure down where you hunt, there's probably not very good hunting, so no reason to go down there. Really appreciate it. Committee, any other questions? Any questions of our good friend from Southwest Wyoming? Thank you for being here. Please introduce yourself. Welcome to House TRW. we'll get you a green, maybe hit it again, maybe we
Okay,
got,
now-
or move it closer to your face too, that helps.
Thank you, representatives and chairman. My name is Bill Ames from Cora, Wyoming. I'm a surveyor also, and I would love if you can somehow get pack stock into this, but I can see the challenge there. You know, fence post, height of fence post, and I could see a lot of difficulties getting that passed, but I am for this bill 100%, and if you can somehow make it a little easier to understand, like being in pack stock across, fence posts could be a real problem. And I can see landowners putting in 10-foot posts. If there could be some kind of definition on post height or separation or something to get stock across. I mean, foot crossing, we can build a ladder across, but stock crossing would be great, but it is a big challenge. Hopefully you can figure it out. But thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ames. Great to have someone from that part of the state, Cora, Wyoming. Committee, any questions of Mr. Ames? Really appreciate your testimony. Anyone else in favor? We are going to pivot to any folks in this room that are opposed. So if you are in favor and feel like coming and talking to TRW, please step up, sit down in the chair, introduce yourself, and welcome to House TRW. Please introduce yourself.
Just want to thank you, Chairman, Committee. I too spend a lot of time in the backcountry and enjoy the backcountry, and I very much am in favor of this bill. I'm a member of Trout Unlimited, both on the council and in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. That's where I'm from. And I just think this is really important. As others have said, it's not perfect. There are issues. It's very complex. It impacts both sides of the coin. And, you know, we just have to get the dialogue going, keep it going, and solve the problem because this is the right path to take. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. And not a constituent of mine, but has to drive through a great district to go anywhere. So just a few feet off. Committee, any questions of Mr. Wolf? Thank you for being here, friend. All right. Anyone else? I don't see anyone online in favor of, so I'm going to give you guys one more bite at the apple, you guys and gals. Anyone? Oh, perfect. See, I talked him into it. He's been here for a while. One of the first to walk in, and a very sharp vest, I might add. Please, and make sure that light's green. Introduce yourself, and those in opposition begin to get your thoughts collected and start wandering this direction in a moment.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for entertaining this bill. Really appreciate it. My name's Andy Blair. I'm from Lander, Wyoming, and really happy to see this bill coming before the legislature, especially after the court decision made so many years ago at this point. So much landlocked public lands in this state that belong to all the people of this country. It would be fantastic to see a bill come out of the legislature that opens up this access, solves this problem for the people. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Blair. Really appreciate that. Committee, any questions of gentlemen? Appreciate that. With that, anyone in opposition to House Bill 19, please go ahead and come on up to the chairs. Feel free to speak. I will tell you that I think this is going to be the busiest a committee room will be this year. I'm quite excited to have that honor because it is the best committee in the body. With that, please come on up and fill the seats. Make sure you introduce yourselves. As you may know, I'm going to hold everyone to the same time requirement. It's 1:53. We're going to need some time to work this bill if the committee so chooses. So, and I know we have one online. So let's go from, I'll let you folks decide. You go ahead and go green on your mic, introduce yourself, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jim McGagnon with Wyoming Stockgrowers Association. I'll be very brief with this. The bill, as it was brought forward today, we view as totally unacceptable and an infringement on private property rights. Having said that, I believe that the three amendments presented, if adopted, go a long ways toward addressing that as to federal lands. And that makes us consistent with the decision that was issued by the 10th Circuit. As to state trust lands, I would remind you that there is nothing in statute that grants public access to state trust lands. That was a privilege that was granted by the Board of Land Commissioners in 1988 that could be withdrawn if they chose to do so. And I think that decisions there should be left up to them. I think because of the nature of those lands, we find it inappropriate that the legislature should direct public access. A couple of other things, though, that I do think need to be addressed with this, along with those three amendments. One of these is if there is otherwise access to a parcel of public land, am I still obligated to allow corner crossing to that land? If there's a pathway through the middle of my land that I keep open, or someone else's land and it's kept open, I think that's an issue that needs to be addressed at some point if this goes forward. But to be very brief, we would encourage you, if you move forward with this bill, to move forward with it as to public lands. And public lands are the lands of the federal government. The state trust lands are not public lands. As to local government-owned lands, then I think that should be a decision that is left up to those local governments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Appreciate that, Mr. McGagna. Always good to see in House TRW committee. Any questions, Representative Harshman, please?
Not so much a question, Mr. McGagnon, appreciate your testimony and particularly your thoughts on those amendments. I would say, though, just as a member of this body actually created the slip board in statute back in the day, and we kind of like telling them what to do. So, and for you folks in the audience, the slip board are the 5 statewide electeds. So, but anyway, I hear what you're saying and I appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, I feel obligated to respond to that
Yeah, I
because
know.
the slip board is established in our Constitution.
No.
It wasn't created by the Wyoming legislature, as I understand it.
I am not, thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. McGagna. I will tell everyone have not been around long enough to enter into that conversation. That's why we have great representatives and great people that care about our state. You know, Representative Worf, please, as I collect my thoughts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You heard my question about posting of land. I think that could help resolve a lot of problems if there was a requirement for private lands to be posted. But I wanted to get feedback from all of you because I know you deal with, you're dealing with the landowners that the sportsmen in this room are going to have to be working with. And I'm looking for ways that we can accomplish the goals and keep both sides happy and able to sit in the room and enjoy each other's company. So that's why I ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Worf. Mr. McGagna.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Worf, certainly I would agree with you that this would all be helped if lands were clearly identified. Given the fact that surveys are critical to identifying these and that marking them is also important, I would differ in saying that it's the obligation necessarily of the private landowner to do that, and say, why couldn't it equally be the obligation of the government land agency that owns those lands if they want to be made available to identify those boundaries?
Thank you, Mr. McGagna. Thank you, Representative Worf. Committee, any other questions of Representative McGagna? Any other questions? I have one. Sorry, Mr. McGagna. Yeah, he's been around enough. He could be. Mr. McGagna, I have a question for you. You mentioned a concept of if somebody is already granted a pathway or a path to a piece of land, that we should consider not allowing legal access to other corners that has currently been decided. So that's a little bit surprising to me. You would make that comment, and I'd ask you to expand on that as somebody that not only has private land, works in the real estate field, but also is a recreator. I understand there's access in and out, but if you were to limit it to that, wouldn't that create a problem on other corners that might allow them to access other parcels off of that legal parcel they entered?
Well, Mr. Chairman, my intent with that is to say if there's a parcel that has legal access being provided by a private landowner in whatever manner, that then you should not be required to have additional access on the corners. If there's other parcels that don't have legal access across private land, then what you're talking about, I think, is very appropriate. But I think a provision here that would simply clarify that this applies when access is otherwise not available or not provided would be very helpful.
Thank you, Mr. McGagna. Mr. McGagna, I'll dive a little deeper. So if I go in on your path and go to a corner that you have given me access to your private land, and then that corner then accesses public land, you're asking me not to corner cross onto that public land, to go back to my path and go back around, or am I misunderstanding that?
Mr. Chairman, without a map of that path, I'm not certain, but my point would be that if there is a path that leads to the public land that you're attempting to access, then that should suffice, and I know a number of landowners would be happy to provide a path that they find is less disruptive to their operations and their private land rights than necessarily having people crossing on all these corners. So that's what I'm trying to do, is say, we don't want to deny the public their access, but I don't think that it's your role with legislation to assure multiple avenues of access.
Thank you, Mr. McGagna. And I will just say that my fear of that comment is now we have created a larger burden on the sportsman to go back through that pathway. And we also, as testimony was earlier, that we need to keep this from the Good New Hunter, Ms. Hannah, keep this as simple as we can and as narrow as we can while trying to potentially adopt these amendments to not confuse this. This is a very, as you know in your career, very complicated topic. So I really appreciate your testimony. We can go anywhere we want. I'll just wait to get some eye contact, and please remember to introduce yourself, make sure that green light's on, and welcome to House TRW.
Keith Kennedy on behalf of the Wyoming wool growers. We hold the same position that stock growers do. The one thing that I would point out from some of the discussion that I've heard earlier, and this is more in my wheelhouse, depending on what you're willing to spend on the technology, it is extremely accurate now. It's not a matter of 8 or 12 inches. It's a matter of 1 or 2 inches now. So that argument was true 10 years ago when we heard it, but it isn't any longer. But other than that, I'd welcome any questions. I'm not sure that I can help you. I did have a question about the pack animals, and I have pack goats. I don't know how I can quite get them over the corner without touching on opposite corners. So we would wonder a little bit about the pack animal portion of the proposed amendments. I'll carry them across on my shoulder. Thank you.
Thank you. And did I hear Mr. Kenny, K-E-N-N-Y?
Kennedy.
Kennedy, nice to see you. I appreciate it. Committee, any questions of that comment from the nice gentleman? I do respect the comment on technology, but certainly it would never be my intent to make hunting harder for the average person in Wyoming. You speak to that technology is available, although I would guess it is probably quite expensive. And, we're pretty lucky to be able to hunt in a state and buy a resident license and buy a firearm or a bow and keep it at a reasonable price to go exercise our right as Wyoming citizens. So I wish everyone could get a device that is that specific. I think it's a great concept, and I will probably be there pretty soon. But really appreciate it. Committee, any other questions? Any other questions? 2 more. And gentlemen, if there's other folks in opposition, stay close, and especially with your history and your organizations, we may have more questions for you to clarify some of the points. Maybe just stand. And any others in oppositions, please come fill these chairs. Welcome to House TRW. Please introduce yourself.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify. My name is Carrie Peters, and I'm a private landowner, farmer, and rancher up in Park County. We deal with a lot of hunter trespass issues in our area, and I'm here to speak against this bill. Obviously, it is my understanding that the 10th Circuit decision permitted crossing the airspace. So without addressing the physical touch piece, this bill is a huge slippery slope, in my opinion. And with the suggested addition of foot or pack animal by the good representative, I see this as opening a door we don't want to open. I just ask rhetorically, where will it end? What is incidental? Does it mean 1 foot? Does it mean 10 feet? Does it mean 100 feet? This is a slow creep on private property rights. I'm already hearing this creep in the testimony today. One person says this bill is good. Another says, oh, just add pack animals and then I'll be happy. Where does it stop? I'm very concerned about what is truly an expansion of what the 10th Circuit decided. So to be truly in line with the spirit of the 10th Circuit decision, I just feel this bill doesn't do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Peters, and thank you for keeping it to 1:10. Committee, any questions of the testimony from Ms. Peters? Any questions? Seeing none, really appreciate you coming down today to the Capitol and the People's House. Any others in opposition, please feel free, a couple open chairs. If not, please introduce yourself and take us home.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Kelly Carpenter with the Wyoming Farm Bureau Federation. We sit in opposition to this bill, which is, I'm sure, of no surprise to you all. Our membership is opposed to corner crossing, believes it's trespass. However, we are willing to work with hunters and those who are recreationists to fix this issue, because it is really important to have access to federal lands. Absolutely. So with that, I won't rehash a ton of what everybody else said up here that we echo. But something I think that is worth pointing out, landowners and landowner groups weren't brought to the table initially to work on this. We would be happy to be there if it becomes a collaborative effort, but we don't believe it was. We even have policy with the Wyoming Farm Bureau supporting blocking up federal land, making that easier through the NEPA process, those sort of things. We're not about locking up the land. We're about making it easier for recreationists on federal lands, as well as helping to respect private property rights that our members hold so dear, and I know everybody else does. So with that, talking to the amendments, we can support travels by foot, but we don't support pack animals, much to what the lady to my right mentioned. We do believe physical contact stays in line with the 10th Circuit decision. So we need to be really explicit with physical contact, because you set foot on private property, our members are going to believe you're trespassing. So we really need to be very, very specific with this bill. And with that, we don't think it's ready. We're happy to help. We stand ready to help make it be a compromise between the two parties. But until then, we stand in opposition.
Thank you, Ms. Carpenter. Committee, any other questions from that testimony? Committee, any questions, Ms. Carpenter? Yeah, Representative Hartman, please.
Just a question on the amendments that were talked about earlier. Your thoughts on that? Mr. McGagna, I think, supported those or thought it improved the bill. Your thoughts?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Harshman, it's a step in the right direction, absolutely. We can again support traveling by foot, as I have just scribbled down on page 3. I didn't have a copy of the bill, so or the amendments ahead of time, so just with my scribbles. But yeah, I think we can get there. I just don't think we're there yet, for sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair.
Opposing.
Thank you, Ms. Carpenter. Committee, any other questions? Any other questions? Thank you for being here. For those that entered the room, we are about to close public comment. This is folks that are in opposition of House Bill 19. We do have one online. We're having a little technical issue with someone that was trying to call in. But Terry Dean, if you are here to comment via Zoom on House Bill 19, please accept our invitation to enter the room.
Mr. Chairman, Terry Dean declined the invitation.
Declined. All right. Well, with that, I am going to close public comment on House Bill 19. Committee, what is your pleasure? Representative Provenza has moved the bill. Representative Harshman has seconded. Let's work the bill. Committee, page one, House Bill 19. Get your amendments ready. And I will ask you, as these develop, we are going to be very respectful of LSO and have them written for them. We can, if you so choose, an amendment gets moved and added to the bill, we will give them a written copy to make this easy so we get it clean on the floor. With that, page two, any amendments? We can hop back to page one. I'm just Representative Campbell.
So given what we're hearing, maybe a good first step would just be to, I know it's on page 1 and then going to be repeated again on 3. To adjust the language so it reads, a person does not commit criminal trespass if the person travels by foot from one to the other, then fill the rest.
In conformity, you've heard the motion. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Seconded by Representative Thayer. Let LSO catch up here. We're good. Okay, excellent. Discussion on the motion. Discussion on the motion. Representative Jarvis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to reiterate the importance of understanding that when you do access that public land, it can be a far distance. So I respect the pack animal, but I do think that if we're going to get this bill forward and get it moved in the right direction, I fully support the by foot. Although it is not perfect, it will further clean up the language right now to move in this direction.
Thank you, Representative Jarvis. Appreciate that. Committee, any other questions on the proposed amendment by foot? Any other questions, comments? Okay. With that, we're going to vote on that amendment. All those in favor of Representative Campbell's motion to add that language, please raise your hand. Please raise your hand. Anyone opposed, please raise your hand. That motion carries. Back to page 1. Back to page 1. Okay, we're going to go to page 2. Any amendments on page 2? Proposed amendments. Representative Thayer, please.
Mr. Chairman, on line 7, that we would insert after land, put and property. So it would read damage.
Line 1.
Pardon me?
Isn't it?
It was suggested to do land or property.
Sorry, and or property. Thank you.
You've heard the motion. Do we have a second? Seconded by Representative Campbell. Any discussion on that? Representative Provenza?
Just for clarification, that's on line 7, page 2, after land or property, and then page 3 as well, line 13, own land or property.
Thank you for that friendly amendment.
Okay, any other discussion on that, committee? Any other discussion? Sensing your urge to vote, all those in favor of that motion, please raise your hand. Opposed? Same motion. Okay, that motion carries. So we're good on that one. Thank you. Representative Harshman.
Mr. Chairman, I think back to page 2, line 6, we just put in without physically causing damage. Correct? Is that what we just, did we put the word physically on line 6 or not? We just put.
We haven't yet.
Okay, I think, Mr. Chairman, I move to amend then without, on line 6, after the word without, add the word physically, then that would read physically causing damage. And that's my amendment right now. I'll just stop there. And I want to bring up this point about touching. And I just think it's going to be important to have that in there at some point. It probably would go without physically causing damage or touching any privately owned land as you read that through 7. So I'll just go ahead and my amendment is to without physically causing damage or touching any privately owned.
Before we have discussion on that, and you feel free to
germane to this is what
page
I
3.
bring it up.
Yep.
We also would need to add that
To
on
page 3, line 12.
100%.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that.
Perfect. Yep.
Wasn't
And
overlooked.
conforming do we have a second on that motion? Representative Wharf, thank you for the second. Discussion committee on Representative Harshman's amendment.
The amendment is, Mr. Chairman, physically causing damage or touching any privately owned.
And committee, for your knowledge, that's page 2, line 6, as well as page 3, line 12.
Was the word contacting or touching?
Yeah, please.
I want to get that language.
We all want to get this right.
Mr. Chairman, representatives, I think, and I would speak to Mr. McGagnon as well, great friend of mine, actually. I think that what we should do, just the proposal is, and without physically contacting or causing damage to, because if you say physically causing damage, I think a sheriff or somebody's going to think, I don't know, if you threw a snowball or something, it's not the same. So I think if we just physically contacting or causing damage.
Get rid of the touching. It's the same.
It's the same thing.
Same thing. I just want That is really friendly and don't leave it. That's friendly. And I want to get this right. Matches the language you talked about earlier, Judge Scaville. That's our goal. So I wanna
Representative
make
Worf
sure
as the second. Are you good with that? Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks for that cleanup.
I promised staff we wouldn't do
Would you
this and
just-
we're doing it.
I just ask that you just stay there.
Yep, nope. I think we're good. Representative Harshman, Representative Worf as the second is good with it. Committee, any discussion on Representative Harshman's proposed amendment? Everyone's clear on it?
Mr. Chairman, and
Representative Thayer, please.
I just want to make sure that's this, then it'll be repeated on page 3,
Line
lines
16.
12 and 13.
Yep. Correct.
And you have the language. You want to read it back to us? Mr.
Yep,
Chairman?
please.
Absolutely. Page 3, line 12, to read corner where the two parcels meet and without physically contacting or causing damage to any privately owned.
We have some nods. Appreciate that. Is that clear, committee?
That is in 2 places.
2 places. That's page, yep.
And then on page 2, starting on line 6, corner where the two parcels meet and without physically contacting or causing damage to.
Great, thank you. It's a testament to our great staff. Thank you also for that. Since you urged to vote on Representative Harshman's motion, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed, please raise your hand. That motion carries. Committee, any other amendments to House Bill 19? We were on page 2. We've hopped to page 3. Then we've hopped back to page 2, but we are back on page 3. Representative
have a-
Jarvis, please.
I have a question and why you're right here. On line 1, page 2, one parcel of land owned by, if we change it to the public, does that solve the concerns around the trust issues?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Jarvis, I don't want to speak for Mr. Magagna. I wouldn't try to. But I think that this is an issue if you have owned by the public, while that is in fact true, everything, owned by our government or operated by our government is held in trust in some way or form for the public. I think you'd have to define that term and it would get confusing. So I think the way that is currently structured is the most comprehensive and appropriate. But I mean, if you're just saying add the word, I guess, are you suggesting eliminating a local government, the state of Wyoming, or the federal government? Is that what you're suggesting?
No, because it would still say by the public, the state of Wyoming or the federal government. Well, I guess it would be local. I'm gonna retract that.
No, you never
at
made a
the
motion. You
moment,
just asked a question.
So we can, yeah,
You're good. All good.
Uh,
Representative Jarvis.
and
thank you.
then look into that here in the near future.
Okay, any other, Representative Worf, please.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, and I know it was mentioned by Mr. Magagna that the ruling from the court does not address the state of Wyoming. And so where it talks about the state of Wyoming or federal ground, I'm wondering if we need to take state of Wyoming or say something about it does not apply to state lands. Because that is a very different topic that this committee needs to understand, because that is different than what the courts have said. State lands are not public lands, even though we have always had access to those lands. Mr. Magagna pointed out the fact that state lands are held by the state and they may have purposes that are in conflict with hunting or other activities. So that's something I want the committee to think about.
Thank you, Representative Worf. Not to cut you off, but yeah, I do appreciate that. There was some back and forth on that. I am going to go to Representative Provenza, who would love to address this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The line reads, the state of Wyoming or the federal government that the person is authorized to access. We put that in there for that specific concern. So we had that conversation during the interim. And so that is authorized to access is taking care of those lands.
Okay. Representative Worf, please.
Who from the state of Wyoming is authorizing that access? As a sportsman, who would I get that authorization from?
I think and maybe Mr. Semerad has clarification to this, but if you are leasing that land, then I think that might be some of that question. It's different because they're not all treated the same. Mr. Samurai, do you have clarification on that?
Hold on just a sec. Representative Harshman, do you have a thought on that? No. All right, Mr. Simrad, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Representative Provenza, Representative Wharf. This is something that gets shorthanded in the 10th Circuit decision, but the fact of the matter is that the 4 hunters I represented crossed local state, town of Hannah, state of Wyoming, and federal lands, and that was the fact pattern that Judge Scabdall ruled summary judgment in our favor on. The shorthand in the 10th Circuit, they do say this federal land issue, but they also said that the Unlawful Enclosures Act preempts any state laws. So to the extent there was some state law that said some other restriction, the Unlawful Enclosures Act would preempt. I don't want to get into that conversation here, but I think that Representative Provenza's point is well taken. This is, again, directed at law enforcement. This is not entitling or imbuing the public with some extra special rights. It's telling law enforcement, you don't need to go charge people and cite people and prosecute people for this. And so if the fact pattern presented to the law enforcement officer is that this person had authorized access some way or shape or form to use those lands and we're doing this travel, it's not a crime. That's the purpose of the bill. It's not creating, granting, or amending anybody's rights other than telling law enforcement they don't have to investigate that. That's the purpose of it. I think that is authorized to access does the trick.
Thank you, Mr. Simrad. Committee, are we feeling good about that comment? Back on the bill, I'd like to continue to amend it if we so choose. We were on page 3. And then before, and if the committee is willing to or wanting for a question, I think we can all have a comment to either justify or not justify our vote. But let's continue to work the bill so we can get out of here on time, be respectful of everyone's time, and get back upstairs. Any other amendments to House Bill 19? Representative Thayer.
Mr. Chairman, just clarity, when I made my earlier motion, did we get also on page 3, line 6, that person travels by foot? Did that make, I think it did. I just wanted to make sure.
Yep, I feel good.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Committee, any other amendments on House Bill 19? Any other amendments? We'll have opportunities on the floor. With that, I would like to make a comment, and sensing we will have a call for the question here momentarily, and I'm sure Representative Provenza will. To have it said that the public and specifically private property folks were not brought into this discussion, I just don't factually agree with. We had committee meetings, open committee meetings throughout the state. This is an open committee meeting right now. I am a private landowner that participated in it. Your representatives who are around me participated in this discussion on your behalf. So I do think to have anyone say that private property owners were not brought into the discussion, I just do not agree with. I'm also, just like everyone else in this room, a public landowner. So I really appreciate Ken with the Capitol being here today. And I've made a massive chairman mistake. I did not recognize our game and fish department. And I think they might thank me for that later. But we have a wonderful game and fish department, a great director and a great chief and staff. So sorry, I was fired up when I got in here, and I'm still calming down from our morning debate. But with that, any other comments before we potentially call for the question? Representative Provenza, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank everyone for being here today. I am inspired by all of you, and that is why I fight so hard for public land access. Hunters have stepped up. You have taken the lead and the charge on protecting our public lands this summer and continue to do so. And lawmakers should have your back, and I will have your back today. Thank you.
Committee, any other comments before we potentially take this question? Representative Wharf, please.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I too would like to make noted my thanks for your participation. And I will tell you this, if you don't know how to send a message in or call your representative out to talk to you, you could stop any one of the legislators as they walk by and ask how to do that. The people at the door, they'll also help you if you don't know how to do that. I know some of you may feel a little uncomfortable. When it's the first time, it's always hard, but I can tell you it gets easier. And I am glad to see you guys showing up. We need to have more of this, not just on these issues. There's a lot of issues that we decide, and it'd be nice to have from the room full like this on all issues. But thank you guys for showing up.
Thank you, Representative Orff. And I think he's also offering maybe page both of them out. This good representative and whoever your representative is, he'll come help you. And I think any of us would. Representative Thayer, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a member of TRW and representing my constituents in a very checkerboard district, this was great. I want to thank everyone that was here today, bringing both sides together. That is us as Wyoming. That's what we do. And, believing in our access to public lands and also our private property rights. And I also want to give kudos to this committee because we don't all see the days the same way, but we work together on this issue to try to have a win for both sides. So thank you to everybody in this room and thank you to this committee.
Vice Chair Harshman, please.
Just thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to, again, I've already expressed my appreciation for you here, but I just want to talk about what's on yards 3, 4, and 5 now. We've got the yard 2. So the next step really will be for the House Majority Floor Leader, Heiner from Kimmer, will have to put this on the committee of the whole list. He cannot put it on the list. He can keep it at the bottom and it's never heard. I don't think he'll do that, but that'll be the next step. It has to get to the House, and then the whole House will vote on these amendments. These are committee amendments. That'll be the first thing, and then it'll have to pass the first vote in the House, come back the next day on second reading, and then the next day on third reading. And it can be amended in any of those. And then the key is that third reading vote. Then, if Majority Floor Leader Heiner brings this bill up on committee of the whole, second reading, third reading, and then it would cross over to the Senate and go through the exact same process. Be sent to a committee. You guys show up for that committee meeting in the Senate. The majority leader has to put it up. And I will say, we had a little constitutional question. I thought he said, the good Mr. McGagnon, who used to run our state lands too, the SLIB board was the 1920s. The Board of Land Commissioners, certainly the Constitution. But either way, we can pass laws that tell them what to do. And so we appreciate that.
Thank you.
So we appreciate both sides being here. You both made the bill better. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you for
Chairman.
that. Any other comments, committee? Any other comments? You guys are in camo and gals. You're still here. You might as well go tap your representative out this afternoon and go have a conversation. With that, I'm calling for a roll call vote on House Bill 19. Please.
This is a roll call vote on House Bill 19 as amended. Representative Campbell.
Aye.
Representative Connolly.
She left a no vote.
Representative Harshman. Representative Jarvis.
Aye.
Representative Provenza.
Aye.
Representative Storer.
Excused.
Representative Thayer.
Aye.
Representative Worf.
Aye.
Chairman Byron.
Aye.
7 ayes, 1 no, 1 excused.
Thank you. With that, we are going to adjourn, and just for TRW's knowledge, we don't have any more bills on our docket. So let's ask the good speaker to send some our ways. Mr. Worf might not want them, but hey, thank you all for being here. Stick around, talk to us in the hallway. Our work is better because of you. Thank you.